you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. Pierre, like the shirt. The Vineyards, that's right.
Vineyard Vines.
I saw some young boys, some young lads wearing those shirts yesterday outside the hockey rink here. I thought of my my good co-host Pierre McGuire.
There you go.
He represents.
He should be a sponsor of the Eye Test.
I think they should too. I mean, you're a handsome model, Pierre, so why not? Right? There we go. Pierre, you know what? There's a lot of hockey on tonight, my friend. Every NHL
basketball on too, Jimmy.
Yes, we're gonna break that down and talk about that in a second. Every NHL team in action. They're calling it the hockey frenzy, and all 32 teams, 16 games. It's going to be a crazy night of surfing around. If you're a hockey fan, if you have the access to, that's an issue we'll get into. But also, Pierre, as you just said, though, look, we were going back and forth on this texting last night and then spoke about it this morning, Pierre. And as I said to you, I don't have an issue with the concept of doing this maybe once or twice or even 3 times in a season. But first of all, you don't do it in a random Tuesday night in October. And as you just said, you don't do it on the same night that the NBA is opening their season. The Boston Celtics are raising their banner, marquee game between the Celtics and Knicks. I just feel like it's too early in the season. There's too many sports minds focused on a variety of sports right now that I don't think I think it loses its thunder. My suggestion, Pierre, and I want to get your take, and then I'll let you reel into this as much as you want. Starting the weekend of Super Bowl Sunday, okay? Now, you know, that's that weekend the Canadians play 2 matinees, Saturday and Sunday back-to-back all the time, which I always love. The Bruins used to be in that Sunday game all the time. But anyhow, I say starting that Saturday, so Super Bowl Saturday, up until the Saturday before March Madness starts. You try this every single Saturday and see how it goes. Just see how it goes. And I might be out of my mind. The logistics might never work. I have no idea. You know way more about that because you worked for so many years in TV and worked with NBC and understand the networking side of it. I don't. But I am totally against having it on October 22nd on a Tuesday night. And as you said, head-to-head with the season openers for the NBA.
First of all, I think it's a great idea. I love what you just presented, but I also think ESPN deserves some credit for trying this. I really do. And I know they did it last year, obviously. And every year that you try something, it gets better. You know, trial and error, it gets better. So I commend them for that. I just finished doing Mark Madden's show in Pittsburgh, and it's a legendary show. Mark's big time in his business. He had a really good idea. He said, you know, Pittsburgh's a football town, and I'm paraphrasing. And one of the things the NFL's done really well is this expansion into Europe. And they play these games at 9:30 or 10 Eastern time in the morning. So it's basically a full day of football from 9:30 or 10 in the morning all the way to the end of NBC Sunday Night Football. So he said, Pierre, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm totally agreeing with it. My only thing is I'd add the component of one European game. Brilliant idea. Outstanding. You know, people say, oh, well, it's far to go. Okay, hold it. If you leave from Montreal back in the day when we weren't chartering, you'd have to fly to Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Toronto, connect, and then to go to LA or go to, you know, Anaheim before San Jose was, well, San Jose too. You had to do the same thing there to get to San Francisco. So anyways, my point is he's right about that. I think if you did it that way and you could do it on a Saturday, people would really like that. I think that's really smart.
I love it. It's a great idea.
Smart. What I'm having a problem with right now is it's Tuesday night. They're lucky that World Series didn't start. They're really lucky. Last night, there was one game in the NHL, and there were people in South Florida that couldn't watch the game. Okay? Because it's nobody's fault. I'm sure it's somebody's fault, but you can't just blame the league on this. They did the switch from Bally's to another gambling company that's taken over the naming of the television network.
Yep.
So for some people that were in that cable region, they didn't get the game. I
Yeah.
spoke to one of them this morning. He was really infuriated. So this is something that the league's going to have to sort out.
Mhm.
Last night, I told this to Jimmy today, and I'm not trying to be rude. I watched that game from beginning to end, Tampa
Mhm.
Toronto, because it matters to me.
Yeah.
It matters to me.
Same here. Yeah.
But if you're a fan in Tampa and your beloved Buccaneers are playing, which they were, against Baltimore Ravens, why would you have a one-off in the NHL and have Tampa Lightning playing Toronto when you know way in advance there's 2 Monday Night Football games, and one of them is with Tampa Bay? So you've just lost 75,000 people that could be watching your game.
Yep. That are just in the stadium. Forget about the eyeballs at home.
So, okay, I learned a lot when I worked for Sam Flood. I learned a ton, and I learned a ton when I worked for Mark Milliere at TSN in Canada. And I learned massive amounts working for Keith Pelly, who now runs Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. They're brilliant, brilliant TV people, all of them. And I remembered everything they taught me, kind of like what Bowman taught me about hockey.
Yep.
And so I think I've had some really good mentors. Not enough due diligence has gone into the first 2 days of this week when it came to this scheduling. That's all I'm going to say, and I'm not trying to be mean.
Exactly. And we're not blaming any one person, and we're not behind the scenes, so we don't know how it all came about. I just wonder, Pierre, and this is, again, me speculating and me just trying to connect the dots here. I wonder if you remember the whole Amazon Prime thing with the hockey, Monday Night Hockey, that was kind of came about. I mean, I'm sure it was planned in advance, but it wasn't announced until like midway through the summer, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It came about because Rogers Sportsnet was losing their derriere on Monday Night Hockey.
Exactly.
So they basically sublet it to Amazon. Good for the Amazon people. I respect them a ton. They're going out there and trying to do stuff.
Yep.
It's kind of like what ESPN's trying to do. Hey, hats off to those guys.
Yep. You got to try
I totally respect that. They can't be blamed for this.
So I'm wondering, I'd have to go back and look at it, but I'm just trying to connect the dots. I wonder if it came out after the schedule was released. I'm pretty sure it did. And they like you said, there was probably a lot of scrambling behind the scenes, and they're probably, I guarantee, Pierre, later on, they're like, wait a minute, why did we put Tampa on going head to head with the Bucks? Monday night.
Just so you understand this, that Amazon feed doesn't come to the States. That stays in Canada.
So you wanted to watch it on NHL Network, that game? You were getting the Tampa feed.
You were getting
right?
the Tampa feed. Yeah. You were getting Brian Engblom, and you were getting Dave Randorf, and that's what I watched.
Yep.
Okay?
Me too.
So just so we're clear on that, that's not the Amazon people's fault. That schedule doesn't come from them. That schedule comes from the NHL.
Yes. If it was just sort of hastily done. Well, live and learn, right? That's what you do.
Well,
that's what you
this
do,
is just
Pierre.
constructive criticism. Here's my one rule.
Right.
It's the only rule I would ever say, because I'm not as plugged in as most of these people when it comes to computerized programming of schedules. This is the only rule they should live by on Monday nights. If you have a team, let's just say the Dallas Stars, and the Dallas Cowboys are playing Monday night, the Dallas Stars should never play Monday night. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing Monday night, the Tampa Bay Lightning should never play. You pick it. The New York Rangers Monday night, and the Giants are playing, or the Jets are playing. No. Same with New Jersey. You figure it out. Figure it out. It's not that hard to do.
No.
It isn't that hard to do.
It's not a knock on hockey. Like, look, we want hockey to succeed broadcast-wise as much as anybody. But the bottom line is they're never going to beat out Monday Night Football. It's not going to happen.
Jimmy, you know what the most amazing thing is? There were 2 Monday night games last night. And something that they need to pay attention to, the Manning cast crushes almost anything.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So,
everybody's turning to that now. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, so you think that I'd love to see what that rating point was in Tampa last night for the hockey game, especially when the score was 4-1.
Yeah.
For Toronto.
Yeah. I'll tell you, speaking of that game, before we move on, and by the way, we've got a great guest lined up today. We're going to talk some Colorado Avalanche in a bit with our good friend, former NHLer, and the co-host of the DNVR Avalanche podcast, Eric Lacroix, will be joining us. Of course, the son of the late Pierre Lacroix, Hall of Famer. who Pierre McGuire right here knew very well. You're lucky to know him, Pierre, by all accounts. I only met him once, but you and Russ Conway and other people I know were lucky enough to get to know him, and he sounded like a wonderful man. So we will talk to Eric Lacroix about the Avalanche, who have had a rough start, but as we've said, compared to some other rough starts around the league, a lot of injuries and goaltending, and we'll get into that with Eric. I noticed just kind of researching for the show today, Pierre, when I'll go to Google and I'll just try to read all the news stories on the different topics we're going to talk about, whether it's a team, a player, what have you. And the second I type in Colorado Avalanche and I click news, there's about 4 gambling previews, as always, at the top. And then straight down, okay? I'm not lying. The whole first page of stories, goaltending. Total trade rumor central. What are the Avs going to do about goaltending? And I'm not sure, Pierre. Like it seems to me like going as far back as when we had Eric on, I believe, right at the beginning of the playoffs last year, we were discussing this goaltending issue.
Colorado was playing Winnipeg.
You and I were discussing this goaltending issue going all the way back even to like February, when we were just kind of bounce around and look at different topics around the league. Of course, they were unable to really address it. They tried at the trade deadline, but I think we can both sit here, and I think Eric will agree when he comes on. I'm just surprised it wasn't resolved in the offseason. I don't know how hard they tried, how close they were, but I just thought this team, with a team that's so skilled and so close to being a legit Stanley Cup contender, you gotta take care of that. And now it's coming back to bite them. So we'll get into that with Eric Lacroix in a bit. But Pierre, back to that game last night. The one thing that stood out to me, and it was without Ryan Reeves in the lineup, was Tampa came out and they targeted him in terms of the rough stuff and being physical. And the Maple Leafs answered the bell as a team collectively, not just one person, but collectively. They went in there and they answered the bell, and I was very impressed with that. And I'm seeing that more from this Maple Leafs team. And I think you agree, this is the Berube effect.
Oh, it's definitely the Berube effect. Putting Pacioretty on the fourth line instead of Reeves, Pacioretty scores. Reeves doesn't score very much. Pacioretty's physicality was apparent in skating. He clearly wanted to make a difference and prove to the coach he belonged in the lineup. Matthew Nyes is just ridiculously difficult to play against. And playing with Austin Matthews and Mitchell Marner, that's really tough. Bobby McMahon playing with Tavares and Nylander. I mean, just a physical presence. They're big on the wings now. They're fast on the wings now. They're really skilled down the middle. I mean, if you really think about it, they're going to be really, really difficult. As long as Tanev stays healthy and Ekman Larson stays healthy, they're going to be a really difficult team to play in the playoffs.
By the way, too, Ekman Larson has really become a physical presence for them out there. Like
I'm surprised. I know he got fined $5,000. That was dirty, man.
Yeah.
That hit on Gensel was dirty.
Wasn't
now
good.
There's a little story to that because Gensel acted like a smarty pants earlier in the game.
Yep.
And don't worry, Oliver Ekman Larson took his name and number, and he saw it, and that's how vicious the game can be.
I remember marking that down when Gensel did that, and I'm like, somebody's going to get it. But
not a good fight to pay. And Jake is tough as nails, man. I'm telling you, Jake Gensel is tough as nails. I did a game between Washington and Pittsburgh, a playoff game. Tommy Wilson hit him so hard. I think Tommy got suspended. That was a playoff game. He hit him so hard right in front of me. I was shocked that Gensel got up. I couldn't believe he got up.
Well, one man who wasn't shy to the rough stuff and knows how physical the NHL can be is joining us right now. Former NHLer Eric Lacroix joining us. I believe. Are you in Colorado, my friend?
No, those are beautiful New England leaves you're looking at right there.
So.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes. I came down. My wife's parked here with the kids this year, and I go back and forth, and the Avs are on the road trip there. So I came down for the week, and I just missed Pierre actually. And in Denver, we probably flew over each other. We high-fived each other, and then so I'm here for a few days, and man, is it beautiful out here right now. It's awesome.
Hey Jimmy, you see the hat he's got on? He's already cheering for the BU Terriers, and it's because his son Max is one of the goaltenders there.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. We're gonna be flying over with Max to the Friendship 4, Eric.
Are you gonna be there?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
oh,
We're gonna be
nice.
broadcasting every day from Belfast, from the Heart Bar.
Oh,
Really looking forward
nice.
to it.
Are
Yeah,
you allowed? Are you being allowed to go, Eric, or do you
well,
have to stay home?
no, I got to work for the but I think we were just looking like 5 minutes ago for tickets for my wife and my daughter because
Yeah,
they want to go.
You
And
know
I
what?
think it's,
we'll look
I,
after you.
I got a good contact for that. Our good friend Sarah Stanton at Cara Travel. She might be able to help them out. So I'll send you
oh,
the info.
perfect.
Yeah,
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
she booked all our travel. We're really grateful for her and Cara Travel and everyone involved. So we're looking forward to it. And we're having a nice Thanksgiving dinner. Pierre has set this up.
Nice.
Right? Pierre,
Well,
where we're going to be?
Robert Fitzpatrick set it up. Actually, he invited us, but yeah, that'll be good.
Yep.
So
We're excited.
I've
We'll
never
keep-
been there. I've never been there. I'm jealous.
you
we'll
would have
keep
been a
an eye
good
on you.
you would have been a good Belfast Giant, the pro team there. You would have been a
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
player.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's I hear good things about Bell. I
It's
mean, I
great.
wish I could go. I just can't. I know a bunch of parents are going, so but yeah, I don't know. Maybe my wife and daughter are gonna go. Who knows?
We'll see.
Yeah.
Eric, besides goaltending and injuries, what has been the issue to you early on for the Avalanche as they try to get things going?
Well, I mean, it's well documented, right? The situation all summer that Chris has been put in and Joel with Natushkin and Landeskog. We're not going to go and ad nausea with it. I mean, everyone knows the situation they're in, and then obviously you add Lekin into that. You know, everybody thought he was going to be ready somewhere somehow, but then he's got his appointment at the end of the month, and so it looks like he's going to be missing at least 10 games or so to start the season. So I don't think that was in the books. I think a couple games were in the books. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Somewhere, somehow, you start the season, then you lose Druin and Tays. It looks like Tays might be back tonight. Who knows? But yeah, you're right. Goaltending has been, and what it does is the depth is just not. They don't have the most depth, right? Because of the situation they're in. And I think Chris and Joe did the best they could do, with the ads of like the Parker Kellys of the world. And, Ivan is a great story, a nice kid that comes in undrafted and, just fought his way to get a contract. And it's just a great story. And then, obviously Kovalenko, son of Andrei Kovalenko, finally came over from Russia after 5, 6, 7 years after being drafted. So, they've been fine. I think you touched on a little word there that people don't like to talk about because I don't know. I talk about it all the time because I haven't been satisfied with his goaltending. I think if they would have had a little bit of goaltending, the Avalanche would have been a more than fine start. They could have easily been 4-2, and nobody talks about anything. I think it's important those first 20 games that they stay afloat. But in order to stay afloat, it's not like the 2022 edition where you need okay goaltending to get by. I think they need superior goaltending, and they, because the situation they're in, and to get to the end of November to try to figure things out by then, I think goaltending needs to be better. It just wasn't good. Last game, it was more than fine. Justus Sandinen did the job, did what he had to do. And then they obviously, I know it's the San Jose Sharks, and no offense to the Sharks. We all know where they're at. They're in the rebuild, and obviously they're not going to win the Stanley Cup this year. But it was goaltending that they needed to weather the storm in the second period where they didn't really play well. And then they got the saves they needed, and then they come out victorious, 4-1. So besides that, I mean, again, they are a little bit thin. And I think that on the back end, they just, they added Eric Gustafson, which all of a sudden they decided to make a change style-wise, right? They saw that Ludwig was available on waivers. They went and got him, so I had to drop Gustafson. I think it's nothing to do with Gustafson's playing preseason. It was more about style fit. You know what I mean? Like where more a heavier set guy that kills penalties on the left side, and then Shillington's been okay. We all know he hasn't played the most hockey the last few seasons. He had a tough start in preseason, then he had a tough start in the first few games. So, they're carrying AD because they felt that that's probably the way they wanted to go because of where they're at and on their depth and everything that was going to need to be done with the salary cap and everything until those guys they get some sort of an answer by the end of November. But that's been more than fine on the back end. Again, like I said, they get a little bit of goaltending, they would be more than fine. They'd be at 4-2 at least, or even 5-1.
I agree 100%. You couldn't be more right about that. One of the guys that's caught my eye, though, I used to watch him play at University of Vermont at Gutterson Fieldhouse, is Ross Colton. Stanley Cup winner in Tampa. You talked about the Drew injury. He goes up and he plays with Nathan. Seems like a good fit right now. Having a ton of fun doing it, and obviously with Mikko Rantanen. Did you see that in his game, the ability to move from center to the wing and to play with elite players like Rantanen and McKinnon?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why they signed them to made that trade last year, right? And then signed into that give and take 4x4. And they felt that in Tampa, he had he had a 20+ goal season, right, with Tampa. So it's not like the offense wasn't there. It's always been there. And I think they felt the opportunity would be a little bit better. But to his fairness, last year, he still had a pretty good year. But he, at the start of the season, connected with Miles Wood and Logan O'Connor, and all of a sudden, it became the energy line. And you're a coach, right? In your blood, you know what it's like. It's a comfort thing. You go back to these guys whenever you need to settle the game down, and those guys were fantastic. They were, and then all of a sudden, they were like, oh. Okay, so we'll just kind of leave it at that, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what it fell into last year. Now this year, you just said it, Druin, that's been fantastic as an Avalanche, right? It's been awesome. It's a great story around the league. I feel that it's not talked about enough. And then all of a sudden he goes down early in the season. There's been a bit of a revolving door there on the left side, you know what I mean? I was even a guy preaching to break up Nathan McKinnon and Rantanen, where all of a sudden, because Middlestat is a heck of a player. And then I was like, you know what? It's kind of not fair to Middlestat because you're not giving him any kind of support on the wings. And somewhere, somehow, I felt, I think Kovalenko was on the left side. I think Cal Ritchie's had a little audition there. You're talking about practice. You could tell Nate wasn't too happy in practice. Like, I'm not saying towards the players. I think he was towards the way the lines were assembled, where it wasn't kind of falling into the way he liked it. And I think all of a sudden they noticed it, and for some reason, opportunity knocks right when somebody goes down, and then Ross Colton, hey, you're not a center anymore. You go on the top line with those two world-class players. And what does that do? I mean, thank you. I mean, it's like, oh my God, I did it in '96 with Joe Sakic. Trust me, it's so easy. I'm not saying Russ is a much better player than I was, but you know what I mean? It's kind of, you're like, wow. And he said it on an interview after the game. He's like, and those are his best buddies. He goes, hey, listen, I miss Miles Wood and I miss Logan O'Connor. Those guys are great dudes, but life's pretty good up top with McKinnon and Rantanen, and
Jimmy,
why wouldn't it be,
Jimmy, he's selling himself short, by the way. I recruited Eric, okay? And I recruited his brother, Martin. And I'm just going to tell you right now, he could score. Eric could score. He could finish his checks. And if I were Colorado, I would show Miles Wood, because I've known Miles' game forever, show him tapes of Eric Lacroix and how he finishes checks, how he establishes body presence down low, and how he finished plays. And I'm not saying that because he's here. I would say it to Miles' face. And that's why I recruited him.
I appreciate that.
There you go. That's a great segue, because that was going to be the next topic I want to bring up was Miles Wood, guys. And I look at Miles Wood right now, and I look at the way he came in when he was with Jersey, and the flashes of sort of that. I don't know if power forward is the word, but just a guy who's going to come at you every shift. He can chip in with goals here and there, but he's always going to be a presence. He's always going to be a factor when he's on the ice. His speed, his physicality, what have you. And I'm not seeing that on a consistent enough basis from him. Are you feeling the same, Eric?
Yeah, you know what? I'm a big fan, for the record.
I am too.
I'm a big fan. Yeah. No, I know you guys are. I'm saying, but watching it every day, you know what I mean? Like the last couple of years, obviously a little bit like Tampa back then before the Stanley Cups. Remember, they had to fix that identity problem they had, right, with third, fourth liners, and the Avs did that last year with Colton and obviously Miles Wood. Miles comes in last year. I thought he was more than fine. A lot of people talked about his contract and stuff like. I think it's more unfair. You get a guy that's got some speed, that's that can chip in some goals. Obviously, I believe he scored 18 one year in Jersey. Close enough. So he can do it. So I think here he was used in a situation that suited him his game pretty good last year. He also he got hit with some sort of disease last year. He missed a few weeks.
Oh, that's
I
right.
don't remember
Yeah.
what it was, like it was the flu or something, and he was banged up. And I'll tell you one thing, he looked gray at times. You could tell, like, oh my, this guy's sick. You know what I mean? He didn't feel good, and he missed, and it slowed him down. So it kind of broke his season up a little bit. But I enjoyed him in the playoffs. I enjoyed him, this season. I do believe that. Again, there's no offense to him right now. There's just been every day's a different line, because of
Yeah.
the
Okay.
lineup. It's no
That's what it is.
excuse, Pierre. You guys know that. It's just, but it's the
Yeah.
reality sometimes. He's a north-south player, and then he used to having Colton and Wood, and and then he goes and does his thing. I love it. I always say he's a hot mess, and I mean that
Oh
with
yeah.
all the
Oh, yeah, that's what
respect. And it's awesome. He's a hot. He goes out there. He's forechecking. I say he's the only guy that can lose like a shoulder pad. Well, I mean, who knows? Who can do that? Nobody can do that. And he gets up, and he got hit the other day. They thought they'd lost him for a bit through an injury. He lost his gloves, his helmet. He went to the bench. He went to the hospital. Fortunately, it was nothing. He was back the next game, so I'm not even sure what happened there. They've been on the road since, but I do like him. You're right. Sometimes it's a little bit inconsistent. I remembered playing against his dad, Randy. I thought it was a fierce competitor too, a little different type of player, but
Yep.
Randy Wood was a great player. Obviously, he was a great college player at Yale, I believe, and
Yep.
that's before me. I'm a little younger, but I remember I told him, I said, "Oh my God, I hated playing against your dad. I don't think you like me either." But you say hello to him, Yeah,
What's
yeah.
amazing is these are for our younger listeners. Randy Wood and Pat LaFontaine, when they played together, were pretty darn good together. It
Oh
was
yeah.
pretty amazing to watch. Eric, everybody knows a dirty little secret in Colorado. Jimmy talked to you about it, the goaltending situation. If you're going to go out and get a goalie, you got to trade something. And, that's the one thing I think there's not a lot of depth there right now. So you're looking at moving draft picks, or maybe there's a showcase on another player. I'm not going to ask you to name a player.
Yeah.
You think they have enough inventory that they can do that?
That's a great question.
Well, it's a great question. And if you look back, just to break it down a little bit, go back to even Grubauer, you know what I mean? Like, they gave up some draft capital, right, to get him. And then, he's with you for a couple seasons, then you move on. You give up some draft capital to get Kemper. Then he's with you for a couple seasons. He was more than good enough. He won the cup. I mean, so I don't care. He's got his, detractors all there, but hey, he did the job. They won. They needed good goaltending, not superior, and they got it. And he gave it to them.
Yep.
But then they did the same thing. They give up some draft capital and then go get Georgiev. You know what I mean? Now it's like, how many times can you do this? Over the years, it does deplete you. So now they've done a little bit of a goaltending, kind of like a lot of teams are doing, like Florida with Francois Allaire and Bobby Lou and those guys, right? So they got Craig Billington now the top of the list with their crew. They have, I believe, Rick Wamsley is now part of it as the scouting department. Yeah. So they've kind of beefed up a little bit. If you look at the draft, they even moved back out of the first round this year in Vegas to go get Nabokov and Nabokov, whatever how you say his name, in the KHL, right? The young guy,
Yep.
a 20-year-old, not an 18-year-old. So they drafted 3 goalies. So they do know that they are thin. They do know that they need to do something. Now, do I believe he's the guy, Georgiev? No. Would I move on from him? Yes. But like you just said, you got to have the assets to be able to make a trade. How do you do it? What do you do? Or do you look at something? I'm going to throw a name out there. Or do you look at something like a Gibson in Anaheim? I don't know. I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm saying
I was going to go there too.
a profile of something like that. And then, they obviously with the salary cap, they probably would have to take Georgiev on the way back, right? With to make the money work. I'm not a capologist by any means, but so I think that if it can, now they picked up Kakinen on waivers last week, and then just to make sure, it was after the first game. It was not very good goaltending. They pulled the trigger on waivers on Kakinen. I've always liked Kakinen in the minors in Iowa. I used to follow him a lot. Again, at the NHL level, it hasn't really translated. But again, he's 28 years old. He was in San Jose. It's tough to be a goalie in San Jose. We know that. I think he did more than fun in Jersey at the end of the year. Obviously, they didn't make the playoffs, but obviously it was Canadian Thanksgiving. Then it was Columbus. Whatever. He barely just got his visa, so he went on the road trip. So I know he's been practicing for a couple days. Do I expect him this road trip? No, they have one more game after tonight on the road trip. I would say Ottawa maybe when they come back or something like that. And again, me, I'm a little harsh on goaltending right now. It's not, and you know that I'm a goalie dad. I don't like to blame goalies. I just don't think it's been good enough. So I'm not a goalie killer. I'm just being honest. Like I haven't liked the goaltending. So
Yeah.
again, is Kakinen the answer? I don't know. What if he goes out there, he's playing Lightning and the bottom and he wins every game? Then for me, it's all about competition right now. You win, you're in, and that's the way I would see it. I don't think that that's the way they see it. But again, that's why I'm sitting right there with the Leafs behind me and Jared Bednar's making decisions.
Hey, Jimmy, just so you understand, he's selling himself short again, too. His father engineered one of the largest coups in the history of the NHL by getting Patrick Roy to Colorado.
I know, yeah.
He's an okay goalie. Yeah.
Buddy,
Listen,
I saw him last week.
I think though, Pierre,
they went in there and played a good game, the Islanders.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They went in and played a real good game in Colorado.
Yeah.
Pierre, you make a good point though. Like you gotta give to get, right? And you look at last year, and I look at that. I'm just talking trades in general. This didn't involve a goalie, but on that premise, when they got Middlestat for what they did with Buffalo, and they made that trade, it was one of those rare trades. You're like, you know what? This is going to work for both teams. It addresses needs on both teams. Yep. It's good skill going back and forth. I'm with you. Like, can you find that when it comes to a goalie? When you're acquiring a goalie, it's hard to do. It's a lot harder, I think, than a position player. And Kakinen could come in, like you said, and catch fire in a bottle. But hey, I think the Colorado Avalanche don't need a stopgap right now. They need a guy that they can it's not going to be in the back of their head. Is this guy going to stop that all the time? Or is he going to have a good game tonight? They just need a guy they can depend on. And that's why I would go. I know he's had injury issues, but at least you're getting veteran experience in a guy like Gibson. I like that idea. I just look around the league. I don't see another guy like that right now. So I don't know. I don't know where you go.
What's going to be interesting what's going to be interesting about Anaheim? If they don't get winning here, there's going to be some stuff going on. 100%. And I will and I hate to put pressure on our friend because we're really tight with Greg Cronin. They play San Jose tonight. You never want to say in your first 10 games there's a must win. That game's in Anaheim. I'm telling you, like
after what happened in the third period the other night, Pierre, you're absolutely right. I mean, you go into third period 0-0 and you lose.
I know the GM there really well. I coached him, and he's a tough son of a gun. I'm telling you right now, he's tough.
Yeah,
and he won't be happy. He won't be happy if they lose tonight. I'll tell you that.
And San Jose, Avs just played them, and I know Macklin is hurt, but I'll tell you one thing: they had a tough first period. They fell behind, then they didn't give up, but next thing you know, they dominated play, and that's why I said Annunen gave them saves. To let them be ahead in the game, and it could easily gone the other way. I know they got into penalty trouble, but San Jose is working. They're it's not a gimme. It's not a gimme, and I think that's the identity they want to be. And you're right. If you go into Anaheim tonight, and then all of a sudden you're beating Anaheim, that's I believe still winless, right? Just a couple OT losses.
No wins.
Yeah, so no wins, and you're right. Then all of a sudden oh my God, it's got to get old every year. Like, oh my God, here we go again. You know what I mean? Like, and you get into those holes that's tough to get out of. Even the Avalanche, it was 0-4 first time since 97-98, which again they turned it around 97-98. They had Sakic, Forsberg, the likes of those guys. You know what I mean? But I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not no disrespect to Anaheim. I just don't think they're there yet, too. You dig a hole in this league, it's tough to get out.
It's really hard. Hey, Jimmy, before you ask our last question, Eric, I want to ask him a question because this is something that I really respect about him. When he came out of St. Lawrence, he was owned by Toronto, and he went and played for their farm team. And Mark Crawford, I believe, was your coach then, wasn't he?
Oh,
yeah.
And so I'm watching San Jose, and I know how much you learned from Mark, and eventually it led to Mark being hired in Quebec by your dad.
Yeah.
So here's one thing. I'm watching Will Smith, and I know you know Will Smith. And he's playing 10 minutes, 12 minutes. He got no points. At what point, and you're not saying anything bad, at what point would you say, okay, he needs some help?
Yeah, it's funny because we were just talking about that. yesterday on our show or whatever, and I was saying, because I remember last year, like you guys, I saw him play a lot. Obviously, Boston College and BU and the rivalry, and the playoffs, and the bean pot, and I'm like, wow, this guy's good. This guy's good. And again, I'm gonna say something that BU people might not like he could have easily won the Hobie Baker last year. You know what I mean? I'm a big Macklin fan. I mean, he could have absolutely, right? And it shows you how tough the National Hockey League is. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, you show out there, and we talk about it. That's why we're talking about on our show, because Cal Ritchie. You know what I mean? Cal Ritchie, 19 years old, right?
First round pick, and I think he's probably going to go back to junior. I do.
I do too, and that's my point. And it's like at some point, there's no learning in the National Hockey League, especially if you're a perennial team like the the Avalanche. You know what I mean? Like Jared Bednar is not here to babysit; doesn't have time. At the end of the day, Cal Ritchie, will he be a great player? Yes. Do I think this is the right place for him right now? No. Will Smith, I looked at him the other day, and I'm looking, and I'm like, he does look. There's no swag. You know what I mean? Like the swagger that he brings, and you're like, oh, the league is getting to him a little bit. It looks like, right? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but from watching,
we agree.
You're right. You're right. And sometimes it's like you got to have a little setback. I believe he was a scratch too, right? And they said it was part of the program, part of what they were trying to do, maybe like Leo Carlson last year in Anaheim or whatever. But at some point, you're right. You have to, I mean, where is it that you're not wasting the year for him? And I know it's early, but it's tough, man. It is a tough league. And you're right. Crow was awesome with young guys. He knew how to do it, and he knew how to, set you straight. And you know what I mean? And I remember walking into his office, and I just left college, and I thought I was a good power play guy. And he's like, what type of player are you? And I'm like, well, I'm a guy who can play on the power play, maybe pot one here and there. And he's like, power play? If I put you on the power play, I'm gonna get fired. I have a wife and 2 kids. I don't want to get fired. So I was like, oh, I don't think I'll play on the power play as a pro then, But I'm not saying this is what Will Smith is. Obviously, he's gonna be a good player. It just shows you how tough this league is. It's a great point by you.
Yeah. Hey, before we let you go, just if you can tell our listeners and viewers about your new gig in the podcast there.
Yeah, DNVR Avalanche. It's awesome. I mean, we have a great community there in Denver. It's been awesome, and these guys are really good. It's about every sport, right? The NVR Nuggets, the NVR Broncos, the NVR Buffs with Coach Prime and everything. So they take care of me really good. We have a great team together. It's been fun. It's fun to be in the rink every morning. It's fun to be at Ball Arena, practice ring. It's fun to be in the locker room. It's fun to see some old friends, on the visiting teams, which has been great. And again, it's awesome. And sometimes you get to come to New England instead of going on the road. You just come down to New England and hang out a little bit.
Those great teams in Denver, but you didn't talk about the Pioneers, the defending national champions.
That's right.
I just saw them. They're good.
They're good. Yeah. My son's best friend growing up, they're Cyprian, number 24 centerman. That's his best. But he's grew up. He's always in my house, and it's a great family and great. You're right. It was kind of a great season last year, and it looks like they're going to be good again this year. It looks like you saw them firsthand this weekend, right?
The game Saturday night could have gone either way. The officials got in the way, but that was a hell of a hockey game on Saturday night. I'll tell you that. That was a ton of fun to watch. And the building, I don't have to tell you, this is for people that are pure hockey fans. You want to go to an amazing place to watch a college hockey game? Go to DU. It's spectacular. It really is.
Yeah.
I gotta get out
there.
It's
fun.
Good stuff.
Fun.
I
fun.
appreciate you taking the time, my friend. I appreciate it on last minute request as well. We love
You're
having
the best, my friend. I'll see you. We'll you're here for the rest of the week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get together Friday or
enjoy this weather, buddy.
Somewhere.
I'll call you after the show.
Yeah. All right.
Sure. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Eric Lacroix, join us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. He's a great guest to have here. Good suggestion there.
Dude, I recruited him, Danny LaPerriere, and his brother Martin. All 3 guys were drafted in the NHL. 2 of them played a lot. Eric and Danny played a ton. Marty went to work for a very famous singer, Celine Dion. Worked out pretty well for Marty, too.
Yes, so. God bless her.
Lacroix are an amazing family. His mother, Coco, is an outstanding woman. His father was a friend of mine and a really good person. Died way too soon. But yeah, no, I coached that kid. He was a tremendous hockey player. He was mean, Jimmy.
Yeah.
He was mean.
I bet. I can tell.
In a good way, like the mean that I like. You know what I mean, Jimmy?
Yep. I hear you. People are asking, and I didn't see it until just now. Does he have any Bob Hartley stories? I'm sure he's got a ton.
Oh, I'm sure he's got a lot. I didn't want to ask him that.
Yeah, I don't know if they're suitable for family TV here, but yeah, I'm sure he's got a ton for sure. But he makes great points there, and I think Pierre, one thing I forgot to bring up to him too, but I heard you say it on Melnick. And we'll move away from the Avalanche in a second, though. But maybe if you just want to tell our viewers about your observation, was you were talking about. I think Mick had asked you, is maybe McKinnon trying to do too much emotionally and leadership wise with the absence of Landeskog, and you agree with him, and you said people maybe not around that team don't realize what a calming presence Landeskog is when he's around there.
Gabe's amazing. So one of the real treats for me was being at the pod in Edmonton, Jimmy, for 2.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to see all the practices. I got to spend so much time with all the players. When it started, the pod was big and it shrunk pretty quick. Yep. Edmonton left, Chicago left, Winnipeg left, Calgary left. And then, you got Colorado and Nashville and Arizona. They're all there. Everybody's there. And eventually Dallas won that pod, and they played Tampa in the final, and they lose.
Yep.
But the Colorado guys, what blew me away, the intensity of McKinnon, and I say that in a good way, respectful way, the intensity at another level. The only guy that I think that I ever coached that was similar to that was probably Tocchet.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably Tocchet.
Yep, makes sense.
The guy that was the calming, cool everything out was Gabe Landeskog. His leadership was phenomenal. I was really impressed by the way he carried himself.
They probably miss that right now. I mean, that's something. What
I think they're missing, Jimmy, more than anything else is the goalie. And I'm not trying to beat up Gorgiev. I'm not trying to beat up any, and whatever. I'm not trying to beat up any of their goalies that are there. But they don't have a legitimate. I don't think they got a guy that can get them deep in the playoffs. But
I don't either. We'll see what they do. They still got time, so we'll see what they can do.
Yeah,
it was interesting, like I said, yesterday talking to Don Waddell, where he was like, maybe we see things a little earlier than usual just because of the teams. It feels like almost every team right now, Pierre, I bet if we went down the list of the high hopes, the teams that had a lot of high hopes or that were being picked to go to the final, I think we could count maybe 3 that are meeting expectations at this point. I would put the New York Rangers in there.
They're meeting it. They're the best passing team in the league. No, I'm telling you right now. Coming out of their own end, attacking through the neutral zone and playing off the cycle, they're the best passing team in the league right now. Doesn't mean that other teams won't catch up, but right now they're the best passing team.
I'd put Toronto.
Legit. Toronto's legit.
Yep.
Toronto's legit, man. I'm telling you. They're good, they're big, they're mean, and the Tanev addition was huge. And Ekman Larson, which you correctly talked about, has been a massive addition to their team. And you can see Morgan Riley's way more comfortable playing.
Oh, yeah.
He's way more comfortable playing.
Okay, let's just say we need one more team here.
Winnipeg's legit.
See, but Winnipeg, I don't think people had a lot of expectations for, Pierre. I think they thought maybe they'd be a wild card, but not like that.
There's 2 guys that are crushing at coaching right now. One is Ryan Huska in Calgary, because he doesn't have nearly the lineup that a lot of these guys have. And the other guy is Scotty Arniel in Winnipeg. Those 2 guys are crushing it right now as coaches. They are really crushing it. They deserve a lot. Both guys deserve a lot of credit.
All right. And hey, don't forget Carberry in Washington right now.
You know what? It's funny. Okay. We never rehearsed this shit. I was talking to a really good friend of mine that runs a team this afternoon for a long time. And he said, I heard you talking with Jimmy about Spencer Carberry last year, and I wasn't sure, I had to kind of go and watch it. He said, no, I watched him. I agree with you guys. He's actually a good coach. He said, I wasn't sure, I don't know if he'd have the cred to do it. And he says, he's good. He is good. He's really good. And you know what? They have something there. Doesn't get enough credit. Scotty Allen is an assistant coach there.
Mm-hmm.
You go look, when Arizona was just okay and Tocchet was the head coach, they were just an okay team. But their penalty kill was always 1, 2, or 3 in the league.
Yeah.
You look at everywhere this guy goes, and he played in the East Coast Hockey League, just like Carberry did. So now the penalty kill is always good. Scotty Allen, he might be one of the best penalty killing coaches in the NHL. He's really good at it.
Good stuff. And I would go, but going back to the favorite teams that have so far met expectations, I'd put Jersey in there. To me, they've met expectations so far.
What did we say? If they didn't get off to a good start, there's going to be a problem there.
Yeah, and they've done it so far.
They've done it. And now they're going to get Hughes back. They're going to get Pesci back. Mm-hmm. Their team changes a lot. You know, remember when you asked me about Seamus Casey, and I said, nice player. He's very small, and he's going to do well, but he's not going to last long this year.
Yeah.
You know, and he got his chance, and he made the most of it. He did a really good job.
And now they have faith. Next time they got to call somebody up, they know.
The University of Michigan, all these people that worked with him, they deserve a lot of credit. That kid has a lot to be proud of. And now he's going to go play for Kevin Dineen and Ryan Parent down in Utica. It's going to be a great place for him. And now he's given himself a legitimate chance to be an everyday NHLer. But he took advantage of his opportunity because Pesci was hurt and because Luke Hughes was hurt. That opened up an opportunity for the kid. And what's he got? 3 goals? 3 goals?
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
It's a great story.
Good for him. All right. As we mentioned to Eric there, we want to give a shout out to our friends with the Friendship 4. Really looking forward to that. I was getting some people calling me today, actually. He wasn't the only one who was saying, how do I get over there? How do I get tickets? So I'll keep sending them to Sarah Stanton and Cara Travel.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So we're really looking forward to that. It's getting closer and closer, and we'll be getting lining up guests for our live broadcast from the Heart. Pierre is working right now. There's a we just don't know where. We've got we
are going to be doing a live show Monday, the day that we arrive in Dublin. And we're just trying to figure out the location. I've got a good scout on it. And if she's not good, I'm not giving her allowance. It's my daughter who works over in Ireland.
God bless it. Justine's doing great.
She's working on it.
Yep. Looking forward to seeing her over in Ireland as well. But yeah, let's talk about our great sponsor right now. And I will give my pick of the day in a bit, but let's tell you about Betway. They are the leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. Go to betway.com, or if you're watching right now, you can scan that QR code right in front of you to join the action. Must be 18 plus and play responsibly. Pierre, do you scan QR codes at all?
What does that mean? You see, you would ask. You're trying to embarrass me now.
No, I'm not, because I'm out with my daughter the other day.
You're going to pay the price for that.
I'm going to make fun of myself right now. Wait.
No, I don't know.
I'm out with my daughter the other day, and for the life of me, because this menu, they still had just QR code, and it was all digital. And for the life, they were offering this great discount. And for the life of me, I could not get it done. I don't know if I wasn't holding it steady enough and all this stuff. And she just looks at me and she goes, you realize it's all going to be this way soon. And I'm like, I know, and I don't like it. But it is what it is. So I guess we got to get used to scanning those codes.
You know a little about it, but I'll just tell you one little thing. So the first time I saw one of those menus that you had to take your phone and put it over.
Yeah.
So I kept turning, this young lady comes over and goes, sir, are you trying to get the menu? I go, I am. And I forget if I was in Edmonton or Calgary, but I was like, it wasn't working. Yeah. And she came on, she says, it's okay. I'll make sure it's all, and she shows me how to do it. So I've actually figured out how to do it with the menus. I'm good with the menus.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start doing our Betway sick pick of the day here. And we're going to stick with the team we were just talking about, the Colorado Avalanche. I like them today, Pierre. They're in Seattle. I like them on the puck line, which means they have to win by -1.5 or more. So basically you have to win by 2 goals. But you're getting great value at +195. And then we're going to go where you said it's a must win for this team. They're a little shaky, so I'm not going to go as far as to do it on the puck line. But my pick of the day, it's going to be a 2-team parlay. The Colorado Avalanche -1.5 and the Anaheim Ducks on the money line to beat the San Jose Sharks. That is your sick pick of the day.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
Boom. There we go. I like that. Nicely done by our production team.
Getting fancy here.
We are.
Sammy and Manello are getting a little cute up there in Montreal.
We're not messing around. So there's your sick pick of the day. The Avs -1.5 and the Ducks to win over the San Jose Sharks. Let's get to our Q&A. They've been lining up a lot of good ones I'm seeing. What are we starting off with here? Chris Blue Shirts. What's up, Chris? Hello, guys. I hope all is well. What does Laffy have to do to get PP1 time? Also, Ottman needs to be called up. I think he's NHL ready. Thank you for taking my question. Let's go Rangers.
Oh, no, Chris, we love your questions. Lafreniere is legit. I don't know what he's going to – I mean, look at the power play. How's he going to get the first power play of the Rangers with Panarin and Zibanejad and Kreider? Like, who's he beating out?
Yep.
Up front. And he's not taking Fox's place. I mean, maybe
it's not on him. It's just how
it's where they are. And I'm not sure there's a better slot area player in the league than Kreider. From the 2 to 4 feet from in front of the crease, he's as good as there is. He makes plays down there that not a lot of guys can do. And he's just so big and strong. But Laffy's having a great year. And you're not wrong on Ottman. The only thing I'd say is it looks like Will Cooley has beat him out. So it looks like for young guys having an opportunity to play there. But the one thing I'd say is I still wonder about Capo Caco, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Just wonder about Capo Caco and whether he stays as a Ranger or not. Just don't know.
Yep. I'm with you on that. All right, next question. Randy Workman. Question: if the Flames would give up a first round or first center, do you think the Flames will give up a first round or first center that they need? No.
I don't think this year.
Yeah, Randy. I
don't
look. I want them to do well for you, Randy, but even though they're off to a great start, I'm telling you, they're not going to get carried away with it, because if they get fooled by the start, you don't want to mortgage the future right now.
And the one thing I'll say, too, is I talked about Matt Coronado before, and I was actually on Pittsburgh radio with Mark Madden.
But you were here last week, too.
Matt Coronado is a natural centerman, and I know they got him playing on right wing right now, but he can play any of the 3 forward positions. And I've watched him a ton over the course of my life and career. And if he slots in as a 2, or Zary slots in as a 2, you're pretty good.
Yeah,
not bad. I mean, so they're coming along. Could they find somebody better than Naz as a 1? Yeah, but then Naz is your 2, and Naz is really good as a 2. So I don't think they're in a rush to do that, Jimmy.
I'm with you on that. All right, next question. Postnet on 130. Question: geared to creating more offense, would moving the blue line to the red line once the puck carrier crosses the blue line legally, and at the moment the blue line is a red line for the offense? I'm confused. Sorry.
I'm sorting it out.
Yes, you do that. I know one thing, though, Pierre said last week, and I agreed, is get rid of the trapezoid.
Here's one thing that I know Harry Sinden tried to do, and Harry Sinden was a hockey genius. I'm telling you, he was. And one of the things he wanted to do away with was get rid of the blue lines. The offside was the red line.
Okay.
So
yeah,
the only line on the ice would have been the red line.
Uh-huh.
And everything else was wide open. Now, it never passed the rules committee, but he brought it up. Would that lead to more offense? It might, because the offensive zones would be so much bigger. You could stretch the defense out. So maybe, but, again, I don't know that. Yeah. The one thing I do know, teams, and I'll go back to 2004, the Stanley Cup final between Calgary and Tampa. So that's a long time ago. 20 years. 20 years.
Yep.
There was never a lead change. So if you scored the first goal in a game, you never lost that game. And it went 7 games. So that's because it was tackle football on ice. It was crazy. So the league took the red line out and stopped the tackle football on ice. It went 0 tolerance and obstruction because we had the nuclear winter of no hockey because of the lockout. And it's opened up the game. Look at how many lead changes we get, not just in regular season games, but in playoff games. It's unbelievable. It used to be when you were down 3-0, you were done in the game. Yeah. Now and come back and win 6-3.
Yeah.
You can come back and win 7-5.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it last week on the pod, Pierre. Like midway through last week, I saw a stat. There was most comebacks ever so far this early into a
And
season.
that's because of red line. I'm telling you, the red line being out stretches everything out through the neutral zone.
Yeah, Randy Workman saying we won that cup. Come on,
He's talking about the goal. It was a goal, no goal.
Yeah. Randy, I was going for the Flames. Trust me.
All I can tell you,
Hell of a
Randy,
series.
the marquee moment of that whole thing was LeCavalier again, like going toe-to-toe.
Fighting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. How many times do you see superstars do that
No,
on the grand stage?
Those were two big people. They're both big men, and they got after it. They did their chores really well, both of them.
That was a hell of a series for sure. All right, next question. Ron LaRoque. Eric Engels brought this up yesterday. Do you think Suzuki not playing on the PK has disrupted his rhythm? Really good observation on his part. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I think, yeah, that can have an effect. One thing I wonder on Suzuki right now, too, is just he's still young. I look at Suzuki, I still see a young kid. I still see a young player developing. I still see, and I know they don't want, he's the captain. He should be a star player, but I still see him learning out there. I'm not too worried about him right now. I think this is a guy that eventually his game's going to round out. I think there's been some line shuffling or some injuries sort of that have kind of detracted from that. I'm not worried about it. I'm not.
So when you go to an NHL rink in the morning and the team has their pregame meeting, they put the other team's lines up and they circle guys you got to pay attention to, and you talk about their strengths and weaknesses. So I'm telling you right now, the first number that's circled in Montreal is Suzuki's number.
Yeah.
And they talk about what he does, what he doesn't do, and what we're going to do to him. And I've used this terminology, so I know it happens in a lot of rooms. If he doesn't score and he doesn't get points, they can't win. And that's what he's fighting through right now. So Eric Engels makes a good point about rhythm, because I think hockey's a game of rhythm, but his rhythm gets broken up because of the constant attention. And until they get some more thrust from Kirby Dach, who I know is playing in Slavkovsky's place tonight, you know, he's going to play with Caulfield and Suzuki tonight. Until they get Dach going as a centerman and they get a little more thrust from that second line, and maybe when Laine comes back, they will. That's going to be constant for Nick Suzuki, which is unfortunate for him.
All right, next question. Evan McLaren, are the Capitals and Islanders playoff teams? Capitals, yes, I think they can make it. Islanders, no, in my opinion.
So here, last year, 91 points made it in the Eastern Conference as the Washington Capitals. Detroit should have made it ahead of them. They didn't. And they didn't because one guy, Dylan Larkin, got hurt. 98 points made it in the West. That was Vegas. I don't know how many points you're going to make. You need to get in the East this year, but I'm going to say it's going to be more than 91. I say it's going to be more. So I don't think Islanders can get more than 92, and I don't think Washington can get more than 93. So they better hope it's right at that line.
Threshold. Yep.
It's not. You're not going to make it, I don't think.
All right, next question. Alex Evanowski, what's up, Alex? Do you think there is ever a chance the Red Wings would go back to the Western Conference? I just feel like it helps having two original six teams out west. I know ownership hated it, but I loved it.
Nope, because they were an Eastern time zone team. It was unbelievably barbaric. They would be beat up beyond belief. Don't forget, there's probably going to be another expansion. And when there is, I guarantee it, somebody in Texas is going to get a team. And I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody in Arizona get a team. And I wouldn't be surprised to see two other teams besides that. So, no, they're not. They'll have other cities that'll be in the West before Detroit will ever be back in the West.
All right, next question. Mike Gaudette, do you think it's safe for Hughes and Gordon to go to Russia?
No. You know what? It's
a valid question, but sorry, I laughed.
I don't know if they're flying to Moscow and then going up to St. Petersburg. To me, the easiest way to do it is to fly to Helsinki and take the train into St. Petersburg. It's just a little bit easier travel-wise in terms of airport connections and things like that. They might just take the train from Moscow too. I don't know, but that's how I would do it. Yeah, they're going to be safe. St. Petersburg's a world-class city. They'll be very safe.
Yeah, as long as they're not.
It's a beautiful.
As long as they're not trying to steal them. You know.
Okay, I'm just going to
Well,
tell you, Jimmy, things have changed a lot since
I know.
I was doing this way
Oh,
back.
boy. Yeah.
And I could tell you some
Those
stories
you told me.
part of-
Wow.
that are not appropriate, but
Yep.
lots of stuff used to happen. And
Yep.
that stuff doesn't really go on anymore.
What was that ESPN, I think, did a 30 for 30 on the Russian 5?
Yeah, well, the Red Wings, Nick Polano, the late Nick Polano, who's a very good hockey man, such a gentleman and such a good person, passed away not long ago. You know, he was involved in getting Fedorov out,
Mhm.
and they basically called Detroit up, and I'm not speaking out of school here. They basically called the Red Wings up and said, if he comes back here, he's not getting out.
Yeah.
So it'd be wise for you not to send him back here.
Yeah.
You better just keep him scouting in North America. I did some work one spring when I was coaching in the minors. I got a call from Calgary. Dougie Riseborough and Nick Polano called me, and I went and scouted probably around 15 or 20 guys that were still playing in the playoffs in the NHL. And it was such a delight I talked to Nick every day for probably 2 months, so 60 days. It was awesome. He was such a good hockey guy to talk to. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Yeah. Rest in peace to him. All right. Next question. McKinnis Picks. What's up, Andy? How are hockey fans supposed to watch other markets they don't usually watch if they're just stacking Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, just like every year? They need to do better on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Agree, Andy. I think there's a lot of things they got to do better right now, but they're trying, as we said. We'll give them that.
Andy.
That's all Pierre will say. There you go.
There you go.
All right. Next question. Big Bill. What's up, Big Bill? Jimmy and Pierre, can you see in the future NHL teams taking control of their own broadcast via streaming and paywalls? It's already happening.
It's happening right now, and absolutely, Big Bill. Big Bill, and here, what a good question and really smart by you. Yeah, it's already happening, and I think we're going to see more of it. I think it's the way of the future. What's going to be interesting to see is whether some of these original 6 teams, the big ones that are doing very well, whether they start to do that.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, and how legitimate would it ever be to have, just one national broadcaster like they used to have? Because the one thing when you did that, everybody knew where to go. And no running at TNT, no running at ESPN. They're working their tails off to put out top-end productions. They are. But when it's split like this, people have a hard time finding the games. It's just the reality of it. They do.
I see a lot of it every night on social media. All right, next question. Evan McLaren, is the NHL ever going to make the puck completely trackable so that we have data on where the puck is and how it moves at all times, and analytics can actually be made more serious and useful?
Evan, I think they've done a good job with that. The one thing is, I think the broadcasts have become pretty busy, and I'm not sure I'm a fan of it, just maybe because I know the players. But when you see the players, it'll say Murphy has the puck. Then it'll say McGuire has the puck. Then it'll say, Bowman has the puck. Then it'll say McKenzie has the puck. Like, I don't need to see their names on the screen. I think it takes away from the game. But I know they're trying different stuff. I think it's great. But I think they've done a good job of it. The one thing that has really helped hockey has been high definition TV. High definition has really helped broadcasting a ton. It really has. The league, they're trying everything. I give them a lot of credit for all the things they're trying. The league and the networks, they're trying everything, and it'll continue to grow. It'll continue to get better.
Evan, just so you know, too, I don't know the name of the company or the product or what they call it, but I've heard Aaron Ward speak about it to our good friend Mitch Melnick. There's a couple arenas now that are actually putting that stuff up on the screen in game, and it's being updated constantly. So you might want to Google that or something. I'll try and find out too, but I thought that was interesting that they're doing it on the scoreboard, on the Jumbotrons or whatever you want to call them in the arena now. So keep that in mind. All right, next question. Postnet on 130. What would it take for the Habs to be in the mix? Of course, that was their motto going into this season, that they wanted to be in the mix and they felt they could. I still think they can be. I think it's just going to take getting healthy, and it's going to take time. That's it. I'm still high on the Habs. I really am. And I think if they can tread water and stay in the mix and then get some of their guys back, they'll be okay. Pierre?
Yeah.
Agree? Yeah. I'm not too worried about them. All right, next question. Evan McLaren, I appreciate that we don't pursue discussions of coaches losing their jobs, but even veteran Penguins are looking totally lost in a system that they should know very well. Shambolic defense. Is it a problem? Evan, I'm not going to put. I'll speak because I'm sure Pierre doesn't really want to comment on that. If you do, Pierre, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, do I think that's going to become an issue? It could be. I don't. When a team's going the way they are, unfortunately, they can't fire the whole team, and it's usually the coach that pays the price.
Here's what I'll say about Pittsburgh right now.
There's issues there for sure.
This is really important. They play Calgary tonight. Then they go into Edmonton. Then they go into Vancouver. So in 3 games, they're at the 10-game mark. If they're still stuck at 6 points, they're probably not going to be playoffs for a 3rd straight year in Pittsburgh. That's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
They've got to win on this trip. Jimmy, it's
not as easy. That Calgary game's not going to be as easy they thought maybe when they
just so everybody understands. So the Penguins have played 7 games. They've got 6 points. So when you look at it, let's just say over 80 games, you get 10 points you get 10 points every 10 games. So you got 80 points. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the 2 extra games that get you to 84. But most teams that are playoff teams are getting more. They go, 15 points out of 20, or they get 12 points out of 20. If you get 12 points out of 20, you're going to make the playoffs. You will. And that's so if the Pittsburgh Penguins get stuck at 6 points in their first 10-game segment, which could happen, into Calgary, into Edmonton, into Vancouver, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. So we got 2 more questions. Let's get to them. Of course, we want them, Sam. Let's do it. What do we got? Randy Workman, do you have enough confidence in the Leafs goaltending in the playoffs? Yes, I do. But look, a lot of those guys are untested in the playoffs, right? Wall played a little against BC. I mean, against BC, played for BC in plenty of Hockey East playoffs, but against the Bruins, and he was looking good in the second half of that series until he got hurt and couldn't play Game 7. But I'm like Pierre is. I'm high on Stolarz. I think he's going to be the number 1 by when all is said and done, and I do have confidence in him. So I'll say yes to that. Pierre?
Agreed.
All right. Final question. What do we got? John Smith, I have Crosby and Yzerman as classiest to ever play. Who would you put in that conversation? Well, I know one man that Pierre will put right in there right away, Mr. Jean Beliveau, and I would too, even though he's before my time. And I'd put, in terms of my time, and I agree with you, Crosby and Yzerman in there, I'd put Patrice Bergeron in there for sure.
Well, I would add Gretzky and Lemieux.
And Gretzky and Lemieux.
They're pretty
There's a
good.
lot of classy players.
There's a lot of guys. I mean,
there really is.
Those are special players. Wayne and Mario, they carried the league on their back for a long time.
Look, and I know when we say this, Pierre, because we've been in the game for so long, and it's what we do, and we're part. But I mean it when I'm saying this objectively, because this is what I thought as a kid. I do still believe that in terms of class and doing charitable things, and just being decent people, the NHL's at the top in my eyes. It really is. And I think overall, we've always been blessed to have so many good, honorable, decent people playing in the game. And there's so many things that I would see over the years being a reporter and being part of this. And I'm sure you see the same, Pierre, of players that do things and they don't want anybody to know about it. But when you find out and you're like, wow, that's class. That's wow. And that happens over and over every year for me. So I think we're blessed when it comes to that in this game.
I totally agree. I don't have to add much more to that, but
yeah,
I'm glad you brought up Jean Beliveau.
Oh yeah. I think
one other one I would say too is Jean Rattel.
Yep.
Jean Rattel.
Oh yeah. You used to always tell me, Pierre, you draw the analogies between him and Bergeron, right?
Bergeron. He and Patrice
Yep.
Bergeron. Yeah. Jean Rattel is amazing, man. Amazing.
Yeah. And I think in terms of just overall, the man we have on this show a lot too, Mr. Scotty Bowman, is right there with the best of them when it comes to that.
Yeah,
so, All right. Well, listen, we want to thank Eric Lacroix for joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Great Colorado Avalanche talk there, and just always good talking hockey with Eric. Thanks to our production crew up in Montreal. Thanks to you, the viewers and the listeners. And thanks to you, Pierre. And we will see you tomorrow here in the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.